Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome back to What's for Dinner. And just a reminder that when we're thinking about this, we're really thinking of a lighthearted way to approach this. And in this class specifically, we're talking more about just the food you could have on hand, right? Like what is available. Sorry, I'm moving. Oh, there we go. I was trying to get everybody up on the top of the screen. Okay, so yesterday we talked about grab it from a shelf, and if you're just tuning in to watch the recording, we already did a little bit of a review. So the group shared, that's not on the recording, just to keep it a little bit of a safer space. But today we're talking about what we find in the freezer. And I think some of you have had that before, digging, like, oh, I didn't even know this was in here. Or, you'll find it there because it's what you put in. So we'll get right to today. We'll start right in with the gentle nutrition. And I have a little bit more to share about my fuel mix. And then just like yesterday, we'll talk about the freezer basics. And there's a lot more that can happen in the freezer. Right? Our freezers have the capacity to have a lot of different types of food and store it for us well. The inventory is 2 sheets for this one because there's just more groupings that we could find in the freezer. And then I'm going to share a little bit more about the stress-free eating blueprint course, and then of course homework. Okay, so just building on this idea of gentle nutrition, I think there's a place to recognize that there's and dietitians are some of the worst at this, that we teach that food is good or bad, and it's related to health. This is good for your heart, bad for your heart, good for this, that you all know. If I say good food, bad food, you already know the ones that we think of as bad, and it can cause there's like this intertangling or intermingling of almost a morality that goes with food. Someone can eat a food. I hear this, well, not right now because I'm home all the time, but when I used to be out eating with people at potlucks, and somebody would say, I'm so bad, I had a piece of cake. And I would say, well, you're not bad, you just had a piece of cake, right? Oh, actually, I had dinner with a friend last week, and she's a friend that likes to eat dessert. Most of my friends that I eat with are people who like to eat, right? So we had this lovely dinner. We got to sit outside. Weather was cool. And so we're having the conversation, are we having dessert or not? And she said, well, I could be good. And she meant I could skip dessert. And I said, being good it sounds good to have dessert. What was that one again? And she's looking up the menu on her phone. And I had already boxed up some of my dinner because I knew that usually we get dessert. And so just that idea of you're good if you don't have dessert, you're bad if you eat something. And there can be guilt that goes with it, or even shame. Some people, they have an idea of what they want to eat and then they eat something else. I was talking yesterday about how diet culture can get scrambled into meal planning. So I've heard lots of stories from clients who said, I did all this cooking of the food on my plan, my lifestyle change, and it tasted gross. So then I went and had fast food. And they're just so discouraged, right? I mean, they're like, what is wrong with me? And I'm like, because the food was gross. That's why. And they say, I have no willpower. And I say, no, your body was just so hungry. And it knew that the Taco Bell would fill it up because whatever you tried to feed it that wasn't even yummy, and then you spent all that money. So the guilt and shame can be components of eating that are connected to the nutrition. If I eat this, I'm not good, I messed up. And another component just can be stress that comes with worry about making the most nutritious choices. And that this idea of gentle nutrition allows us to have freedom from all of this, where we just let it go and say all foods are available. Like if food could just be neutral, And we know that for each of us, some foods are not going to be good. If somebody has an allergy or an intolerance, or they're dealing with a medical diet that's going to support their health, then that's kind of a different category. But just in general, if you're looking at a variety of foods, imagine you could look at it and they're all neutral. And then you get feedback from your body about how it makes you feel, right? So I can look, I've had a lot of practice with this. So I could look at a table of food and choose not to eat the sweets because maybe they're not that good. I'm kind of picky about what I eat. So it's not that I don't want to waste the calories. If I don't think it's going to be good, I'd rather not eat it, and I'd rather have something I really love. So, some of those desserts that are I like sweets. I have a sweet tooth. I always have some chocolate in the house. I like ice cream. I like sweet breakfast stuff, but I don't like those desserts that are like too many things. It's like the brownie with the peanut butter cup with something marshmallow on top. And it's like, it makes my teeth hurt thinking about, so sometimes I'm in a group and they'll say, oh, Jen's so good. She doesn't eat the dessert. And I don't want to say to the person who made it, I think it's yucky. Like, I don't want to eat it. It's too sweet. If I wanted really sweet, I would just go for a candy, so just knowing what my preference is. If I really liked a super sweet thing, I would eat it and I would know that it would probably make me feel tired. It probably wouldn't fill me up for very long. I would know how my body would respond, right? So the part of the freedom is just noticing different foods are going to help me feel different ways. I don't love every food that I eat. Sometimes I eat food that just gets me to the next thing. Like I always have some lentil soups, cans of lentil soup in my pantry, or those pouches. I forget the brand. They're those yellow pouches. Some of you might know. We get them at Costco here. I don't think they're particularly amazing, but if I need something fast and I can add things to it, if I have some fresh avocado, I could add that to the soup. It makes it taste better. Sometimes I put in tortilla chips. I'll just add things to it. So it's not that everything is the most amazing food. Sometimes it's just, this is food that gives me good energy and I eat it and get on with my day. But just having freedom from all this outside stuff that goes with our food. And so the Gentle Nutrition says eating a donut one time doesn't give you diabetes. Having a soda with pizza because it's really yummy on a Saturday afternoon is okay, right? Like, there's just knowing it's okay to have things. I think this just takes us right into the idea of defining health for individuals. Like, each person gets to decide what their choices are for their health. And it's not my business what someone else chooses to do. I always, as a dietitian and a healthcare provider, of course, I can give someone more information, but if somebody doesn't want to drink water, that's okay. That's their choice, right? So I think even just letting go of some judgment, like, we're only responsible for our health, and it's important to even recognize that some of us have more privilege in the foods that are available to us. So even right here on Oahu, there's some areas of the island where in 1 mile, there's 7 different grocery stores, and another part of the island where there's 1. And what's available, right? Like, what's available, what the costs are, and just that everyone's doing the best with what they have. And so even just like knowing that it's, we could broaden what health is. And the framework that I use for this is something called Health at Every Size, that talks about health in a more all-encompassing way. So it's not just what we're eating and how we move our bodies. It's also our intellectual health, which is really fun to think about. I teach at the University of Hawaii, and we have this great program for the kupuna, for the elderly in our community. They can take classes for free. And even online right now, I have one kupuna, and I have ones from the past that still email me. They're so sweet. So it's usually just like very sweet older ladies that, listen to all the lectures, send me feedback, send me articles. Hey, Jen, I just saw this in the newspaper. It's really sweet. I've built relationships over time, but I think of this program as an example of health, that these older folks who are retired, the one who sends me stuff all the time is a retired librarian from UH. So she's like that, you know, that's what she does. And I'm always so grateful. And, you know, we email a couple times a month, but that's an example of health, like your intellectual health, your spiritual health, right? Whatever that looks like for everyone, if it's religion, spirituality, just connection to something bigger, even health with how you interact with the community, right? We could talk about financial health. So thinking about health in this broader spectrum, and that we would hope that we can be working toward a system where everyone has access to good quality care. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this. We've already talked a little in our, before we started the recording, about processed foods. Cheryl, you were talking about having more fresh stuff, and just this idea. I think it's important when we talk about food that's in the pantry or the freezer, especially the pre-made boxed foods, that they typically contain more things are added to help them be stable in the hot or cold environments, right? Shelf stable or in the freezer, and to make them more palatable. Adding preservatives and these different additives, especially sodium, other things, help these foods maintain their quality and make them taste good. And they're often lacking in fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Those are usually some of what would be missing in more processed or prepackaged foods. Not all brands, but that's kind of a general. And then what's added is usually a lot of sodium, and then other chemical preservatives that some people are really sensitive to. So with this, I think it's important to say we're allowed to eat processed foods. And sometimes processing is just mashing potatoes. You had a potato and now it's mashed potatoes. It got processed, right? It doesn't always mean it came out of a box. So the way that I like to address this with clients is to just notice, like if I meet somebody and most of what they're eating is processed or fast food, we notice it, and then we just start adding in more fresh things that make sense for that person. And then what happens is they start to feel better. If someone's eating a lot of processed foods, they could be constipated because they're not getting a lot of fiber. So if we add in foods and water that help with that, they feel better because they're going to the bathroom, right? Basic kind of things. So I think just recognizing if most of the food is processed, or if it makes sense, some households, that's just what makes sense for how they do their food shopping and food prep, just to be mindful of reading labels, seeing which brands are lower sodium. Some brands have higher quality ingredients. They're usually more expensive. So I think I would counsel somebody that if there are processed foods that they're eating very regularly, to just look at how often they're having it and what some of the ingredients are, and see if there's a way to swap some things out, or to adding some vegetables to what you're eating, or, just a way, not that we have to cancel out processed food, but just to acknowledge that for the interest of optimizing health and how we feel, just eating processed food doesn't make people feel very good. And if that's what you're used to, you don't know that when you start eating more fresh stuff, you'll feel better. And by fresh, that also includes something like fruits and vegetables from the freezer, right? Still, maybe fresh isn't the right word, just single ingredients, single things that we could add in, right? And then when I think about fast food options, we definitely think of fast food restaurants, but also broadening that to think of, it's like if you're out running errands and you need something to eat, I always prioritize eating consistently over eating the most nutritious foods, right? And even for myself, if I'm out and I'm like really hungry, I just need to eat something and get on with things, right? Sometimes if my schedule changes, I might have to go somewhere and I'm really hungry and I'm like, oh shoot, I need to eat something because I don't feel good if I'm too hungry. And so then I get something small from McDonald's. When I eat fast food, it doesn't usually make my stomach feel very good. So I know that going into it. But I ate fast food when I was a kid, and there's some things I like. They taste good to me. They're cheap. I love with fast food that you just crinkle up the paper and you're done, right? You just like throw it all away and wash your hands. That's something I like as much as just having it easy. Fast food is very consistent. So when I teach about that, I always acknowledge I don't feel great. I would never want to eat fast food and then go hiking. I would feel really nauseous, right? But if I'm just getting from point A to point B and this is what's helpful, or I don't want to spend a lot of money, or it's just where I am, there's a place for it. But I also help clients think of other things, like something that would be a fast food for me could be going into Starbucks and getting one of the breakfast sandwiches any time of the day, right? Or getting a turkey sandwich. That's one of my things. At airports. It's been so long since I've been. It feels so long because I've missed a few visits with my family. But it's something like a turkey sandwich. You can always find a turkey sandwich in a coffee shop at an airport. That's an example of fast food. Or even just grocery stores sometimes have egg salad, turkey sandwich, some kind of prepared sandwich that's made fresh. That's not, it's not what I would like bring to somebody for a picnic, but when I just need something between here and there, right? So really I'm saying like grab and go kind of foods, right? And just thinking like how they make us feel, but allowing for some processed foods and then thinking what else, and always just this reminder of how can we add more fiber, more vegetables, more fruits, more whole grains. And I started calling them plants years ago because nobody wants to hear the dietitian say vegetables, right? they're already like, you're not taking away anything. And I'll just say it so like in such a neutral way, like, is there any plant that you like? And the client says, well, I don't know. And I'll say, what about a baby carrot? Just a baby carrot. Yeah, I could eat baby carrots. Okay, where are you going to buy them? I'll just buy them at the store. Okay, when will you eat them? And then the goal will be eat them one time before you come back. And then they come back and they're like, Jen, I had baby carrots 3 times. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. How did you like it? They were good. Yeah, it felt good. I liked it. Okay, what other plants do you like? So I don't take away the fast food. We just start adding things, but in such a low stress way. Because we don't have to eat all of the fruits and vegetables. We just have to find the ones that we like that we can actually get, right? You don't have to, on the first time out, you don't have to get all the kale and just like, I don't really like kale, so I don't know what I would do with it. Eat it big. I don't want a whole salad of kale. That doesn't sound very yummy to me. I prefer cooked greens. And it's so bitter, the kale. Okay, so here's a little bit more to build on my fuel mix. We talked about that it's the 3 macronutrients, and you'll see I'm like a broken record with this protein. Prioritize the protein. And then something that's helpful if you're prioritizing protein is that most protein foods come packaged with some fat. So if it's peanut butter, it's protein and fat. If you're eating cheese or yogurt, most meats, or even how we eat foods, like we were talking earlier about tuna. Tuna by itself doesn't taste very good. I like it with mayonnaise. There I go, protein and fat. Now I just need something else that's a carb, some other way to eat the tuna, a cracker or a bread or something. So noticing that, so if you focus on the protein, you're likely also getting the fat, which just kind of gives you a little break. And then when we think about the carbohydrates, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. They are the way that we get fiber into our diet. So noticing what the choices are. So if you're not sure if you're getting enough fiber, you might not be. And so that would be it's a good reminder to just look at labels. If there's a couple different choices of bread that you like, go with the one with more fiber, or the cereal. You don't have to go out and just only eat bran flakes or something unless you like bran flakes, by all means, enjoy them. But you know what I'm saying? Just, you could notice what are some of the regular things you have, and is that an area to think about? And then all three of the macronutrients, which are the fuel mix components, provide vitamins and minerals. So I just affectionately call them the micros. We need those in very small amounts. That's why they're called micronutrients. So even our protein foods provide vitamins. We don't always think about that, but it's part of a reminder of eating variety, right? When we eat these three components, we're getting more variety of the vitamins and minerals that really help us, are really the most helpful to prevent disease, give us energy, all of that. And then this is just the same framework I went over yesterday. So in the interest of time, I'm gonna skip over it. Okay, so now we're on to our freezer basics. And we have twice as many categories when you think about the freezer. So we're gonna go over, again, making protein a priority, how we just fruits and veggies, and then different categories of cooked proteins, uncooked, baked goods, the backstock items, which those are things that you buy in bulk and maybe they go straight into the freezer, or you have them in your fridge and then you think, oh no, these could go bad. Can I put them in the freezer to prolong their life? The snacks and sides, that could also be like poo-poos or appetizers. We're gonna just touch briefly on meal kits, and then entrees that are already prepared, and then the food that you've prepared. So it's a lot happening, because some of these individual things could go into what you prepare. But really, I think it's good to highlight how much the freezer really can do for us. Okay, what did I changed the way this looks now. Oh, there we go. I hid the stop share button. My laptop is very small, which I love, but it makes it hard because my screen is so little. I get lost sometimes. Okay, are you all able to see the freezer basics? Okay, you don't see the slides. Okay, so again, start with your protein because it's gonna help you build your dinner. And with fruits and veggies, with this, I really just mean anything that is just like the single fruit or veggie frozen or a mixed variety, right? But they're like, I like how you said earlier, Kamomi, like from A to Z, like every fruit and vegetable that you want probably comes in a frozen option. If it's something that, maybe not where we all live, but most things that you want would be available. And it's a great way to add in the vitamins, minerals, fiber, and then they also provide water to help with our hydration. And then the uncooked protein, this is the one that's a little more high maintenance, right? It's gonna need some defrosting time. Could be a big piece of some kind of meat, a roast or something that goes into a slow cooker or an Instant Pot, or just, pre-made burgers or patties or shrimp. But when you're thinking about it, you just want to plan that how you're going to defrost it, right? And then we have the cooked protein options and all of my examples are not exhaustive. Of course, the freezer sections are really big. So this is just to kind of get you thinking. Some of the cooked ones would be really easy because you just defrost it and you like warm it up and it's ready. You don't have to defrost and then figure out what you're doing with it, right? So this will be more convenience type of items. Baked goods do really well in the freezer. So I keep my bread in the freezer because it's only me eating it. I don't always eat it really fast. I don't want it to get moldy. And then I just usually toast it, but any kind of bread items. And then because we know that we could have breakfast for dinner. I added in pancakes and waffles. Sometimes people will make their own pancakes and waffles and freeze them, and then you can just pop them in the toaster. That's an option. And then here we go with the backstock items. And certainly there are more things that could go in the freezer, but these are things that I would put. I was in my freezer, like, what do I normally have in here? So you can buy pre-grated cheese. You can buy a block of cheese and grate it yourself. I like to buy in bulk some of the turkey meat, like deli meat, and then it will go bad. If you buy it in bulk, it goes bad quickly. So I put some in the freezer, and it defrosts really quickly, and it just will extend the life of it. So that's a way to just save money on that. You can do shredded chicken. So even if you have a rotisserie chicken, or this could be for turkey too at a holiday, already cooked chicken or turkey could go in the freezer. Sometimes if I open a big container of chicken stock, I always feel worried how long it lasts, because I'll put it in the fridge and forget. You know, I only use 2 cups and there's 2 cups left. So I've started freezing that, and then I just have it easily, only because I don't know. Like, has it been open for 3 days or 3 months? Like what? And it always smells the same, just my food. I know too much about food safety. Butter, milk, yogurt can all go in the freezer. So just thinking about how that could help you be a time saver or a money saver for your other shopping, right? And then the snacks and sides, you certainly can make a dinner that's just all bite-sized items, right? Easy. We don't always think of it as a dinner, but there's a way to get some veggies in there, and mostly just thinking about protein type of foods. I put nuggets. That could be any kind of nugget, chicken or the mock chicken, probably cauliflower nuggets. I don't know. Lots of different things. So this would be more prepared stuff, right? The meal kits, I'm sure you all have seen them or even used them. Those are like those skillet meals that you buy, where usually you add your own protein to it. And there's lots of different varieties. I was Googling, and so many different brands came up with, like, you know, a Thai one, a Chinese one, different kind of pasta ones. And then even some of the pizza kits where the cheese can be frozen too. So if you have frozen cheese, the crust and sauce, you could throw together that kind of a pizza. And just sometimes the kits, you're just adding your own protein. You could always add more of what you have to the kit. Prepared entrees, of course, that's like single serving frozen meals or the family style. Sometimes if I have really busy weeks, I will get like a big lasagna and I eat it a few times. I'll eat frozen lasagna for breakfast. I know it's, you know, I just eat any food anytime. I don't have a lot of attachment to what time of day. I just want something fast, easy. Frozen pizzas can just be a really good time saver when you don't know what else to do. And maybe you don't have time to order pizza out, or you want to save money. Enchiladas freeze really well. And then the big showstopper, number 10, is the food that you prepared, right? You're gonna find it in the freezer because you put it there, and it can take some effort. You know, it's a carving out the time to do this, but thinking about making multiple dishes. My freezer right now is very small, so I typically only have one thing that I've made. I'll make a batch of something and then I freeze it in like single serving containers. But if I had a bigger freezer, I would definitely cook a few things at once, because then it's easy to just pull out like one soup or one chili or something. But there's a lot you can put in to the freezer that can just kind of balance out some of the more processed foods, right? So the foods that we make ourselves, we're not going to have all the additives, and we're going to feel good when we eat them. So kind of thinking about those ideas. And then I'm going to pull up wait, that's not what I meant. Oh, I lost you again. Okay, screen share. Okay, can you all see the slides now? Yes. Okay, so the inventory, when we do inventory of the freezer, it's very similar, or same questions that we had with the pantry. And the space can make a big difference in your freezer. So if you have more freezer space, some people have an extra freezer, you can take more advantage of the backstock items, pre-made food, just even thinking again, when can you stock up? And this is something where it's, you just can plan. Like you could buy a bunch of food, do batch cooking, get it in the freezer, could help you buy in bulk. And then most importantly, how you keep track. Really important for the freezer that, especially if you have big freezer storage, that you write on it, you know, take a Sharpie, what it is and the date it went in so that you can just use it before it goes bad. The freezer can keep food for you for a long time, but you know that it also can get freezer burn. So if it falls to the back, it can be a problem. Okay, so let me just quick show you. So the inventory for the freezer, it's 2 pages because we have more groups. And I gave protein its own box, but just the same format as the other one. Wait, can you see the inventory form? Yes, no. It's so weird, the sharing, okay. Now we can see, yeah. So let me close that one down. Okay. Zoom is kind of bossy, it keeps telling me, you're not sharing, you're still sharing. So the freezer is, we actually had some good conversation before we started recording about how everyone who's on the call is using it, but it's really an expansion on what we have in our pantry. And then what we'll talk about tomorrow is how we put it together. Like what kind of things you can throw together using what you have in the pantry and the freezer, right? Like one of my favorites or go-tos is some kind of frozen pasta, like frozen ravioli or tortellini that will have some protein, right? It's a cheese or a meat one, and bottled sauce. Of those, if I only have those 2 ingredients, I can make a meal. If I had more to add to it, that's great, but it's okay if I don't. Okay, so I wanted to share a little bit more about the course, the Stress-Free Eating Blueprint. The enrollment will open tomorrow, but I'm still, my little perfectionist just wants to get get everything set up. So I'm not ready to show you the whole thing, but I have more to show. I did a survey. I surveyed my email list and I got really helpful responses. Some of you on the call today contributed. Thank you. You know who you are. So I'm actually taking all the feedback I got from the survey and making sure that it's included in the course, just because it's, you know, everyone has different things they're focused on, but I wanted to just show you the outline of how it'll be structured. The first week we'll be talking about like making room, like clearing the path for success. Like what are the things that get in the way, which could be mindset, perfectionism, not liking cooking, not knowing what to do, all of that. Module 2 will be laying the foundation based on each person's lifestyle and nutritional needs. So that includes getting takeout. That includes how you care for your, like what your health conditions are. 3 is gonna be building a framework and a timeline for meal prep and planning. So we're gonna get out, a lot of this will be very hands-on. We'll have different worksheets where we just kind of look at on any given week or within your month, how much time could you spend, what that would look like, just to set you up to be able to do this long-term and feel like you know what you're doing, so that like we put all the planning into it now, so then it's just executing it, right? Probably like the way that we all know how to clean our bathrooms. A 5-year-old would not know how to do it the way we do it. We have systems. I don't love scrubbing my toilet, but I like to have a clean bathroom. So I have a system of how I do it. I don't have to think, what should I scrub first? Like I've been cleaning bathrooms for years, right? So that kind of idea, like you would just have a a system that feels so easy, even if you don't always love getting started, you know what to do, and that can be really helpful. Then we're going to be talking about shopping strategies to help save time and money. And then my favorite one, making it happen in the kitchen, like actually the doing it part, not just hear all the ideas, like how do we implement it? And then of course we have to talk about real life, navigating real life obstacles and how to prepare for long-term success, right? And that's even thinking about what do we do when we have family gatherings or big holidays and that type of cooking. What do we do? You know, just all the different things that can come up. And then the course is going to start the week of February 22nd. That's the last week of February. Goes through April 2nd. And we'll do a 2-hour live call like this. I have it in Hawaii time because daylight savings time starts or ends, and it's going to shift for people who are not in Hawaii. So, and the actual schedule, I just had to work it out. I always get a little confused with the timing. So it'll be 12 to 2 Hawaii time on Tuesdays, 9 to 10. So our same time on Fridays. That's going to be the time for question and answer. And then the bonuses that I told you about yesterday, we have Anise talking about, she calls it budget eating. And I told her, Anise, you need to trademark that. It's great. We have budget eating or eating healthy on a budget with Anise. All the extra sessions will be on Saturdays. So that'll be the 27th of February. And then March 27th, we're doing the bonus about cultural foods and health. And so we'll have Anise doing that. And then Kayala is going to join us. And then I'm going to do a day where I do 2 workshops in one day. In the early part of the day, we'll talk about feeding children. And I've got some, I haven't confirmed it yet, but I have some dietitians or dietitians in training who I'm going to invite in to help us talk about this. So I'll have some people that actually have children. I don't have my own. I've fed a lot of kids, but we'll bring in some, at least one parent. And then the afternoon session, I'm calling it Solid Gold Self-Care. And this is the way that I like to talk about eating for health conditions, allergies, intolerances, sensitivities. And this also includes somebody who has a chronic health condition that maybe includes chronic pain. Somebody who experiences chronic pain needs to have some extra support around meal planning, because doing the cooking can be very exhausting. And that's something that we always want to consider. So it's kind of like encompassing if there's other things happening in your body that we need to really make sure you have good support with. And for this, the investment or the price is $497 for the course. And then of course I'll have payment plan options, and I'm offering a $200 off early bird that will end Sunday the 21st. So right before we start. Okay, and then I'll talk to more, tomorrow I'll share more about what we'll talk about in the different modules. Still working on that. Any questions on the blueprint? Nope. I have to say I have just as much fun planning everything as I do the actual teaching. Like it's really, and here I'll show you. Mommy already knows this. This is my process. This is how the modules are right now. I scribble everything down and then I like fine tune and type it up. It's really fun. Okay. For your homework today, it's the same as yesterday. If you'd like to spend some time in your freezer, and remember, you're going to be kind of thinking about dinner ideas. Tomorrow we'll do a show and tell of anything that we've come up with, and we'll kind of brainstorm together ideas that, things that could help you get food easily on the table. And then here's our little reminder that the whole point of making this a priority and talking about it is to give you peace of mind. So when you have that question, what's for dinner, you just think like, oh, I have those frozen ravioli and that sauce. I'm good. I don't want that every night, but I have something so easy, right? Or, oh, that's right. I did make that stew that I can pull out earlier in the day. Or, you know, you can just put the frozen stuff right in the pot and warm it up. I do that as long as I can get it out of the container. Just, it doesn't have to be defrosted. It will defrost. It might affect the texture, but if that's how I'm doing it, I don't care as much about the texture. Yeah. Okay, so that is, that wraps up our time. I notice I'm a little bit over, but if, does anybody have any questions or any thoughts that are already jumping out at you of something that you could have between the freezer and your pantry that could help you? It's okay if you don't, because it's really what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Anything? Not yet. It could just be peanut butter and crackers. I've had a lot of nights where that's, if you eat enough of it, it can be dinner. Cheese and crackers, salami. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you everyone so much for joining today. And tomorrow we'll talk about how we put it all together. And then I'm going to be sharing some more about the stress-free eating blueprint. That's my activity this afternoon, is to get all of that sorted out. So I'm telling you now that the enrollment opens tomorrow, because then I'll get everything finished. Those deadlines really help. And thanks for everybody who joined us live and for everybody who's watching the recording, just for coming and hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. So have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow at the same time, same place.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Aloha.
Bye.